back in the booth. Not our booth, but the booth.
Yeah.
And it's just us. We're here after hours. We closed the shop down, y'all. They gave us the key. We renting this joint out.
Yeah.
That shit was good. You're right. I want another.
I need a sandwich right now.
Yeah, I'll probably go eat some real.
I need a sandwich. Or we could go get some sushi.
We could. Classic? Good weather outside.
I like it like this. Like, a lot of people don't.
Some strange reason I thought it snowed in San Fran. People have been making fun of me on Facebook about it. But I got this shape, so everything's cool. Eric, you do this. I'm still.
Yo. Y'all know who it is. It's Hero and Eric live. This ain't the booth, but we here at Nutrition with Attitude. You see my man Hero sipping on that cinnamon roll shake. By the way, we just shot with Chance and Mr. Duplechain right here
Skywalker.
in Rowlett, Texas. Say, y'all gonna have that video link right down there at the bottom. Make sure y'all click it and y'all go check out the video.
Yeah,
it's gonna be dope.
I don't know when this is gonna come out, but like, thanks for everything. Like, I'm pretty sure when that video comes out, if y'all brought the video up and brought it here, you got 50% off.
50%.
That's amazing.
First of all, it's worth the full price. Let me just throw that out there. Hero got his, just see mine gone. It's in the bin. It's all good though. So, no, but anyway, man, we got a great show for y'all today, man. We appreciate y'all checking in with us, man. So, Hero, what you want to do? You wanna catch up with us, or you want to hop right into the business?
Man, let's catch up, because you low-key got some good-ass news recently.
I did. But there's people that know me that are involved in that situation, and I don't want to say it on camera because you don't know. Somebody could watch it, but I got a victory at a very important place that I frequent every day.
And I'll say this: it is very important for you to understand the difference between karma and revenge. See, Eric's situation is about karma. Mine was about revenge.
Yeah.
And I can now leave Texas with love in my heart. If I see you at the bar, I'm buying you, was it
Rumplemints.
So we buying out the bar on my last day, so we're gonna do it right. But other than that, like, I feel like we also have, like, we've been putting out a lot of content. We've been doing a lot of things. But something we been really desperately trying to do is a Q&A.
Yeah.
So we got over 100 plus people watching this now. 100 people are watching this up to 53% of the time. 30 minutes, that means you're here for 15 minutes. If you're here for 15 minutes, you might as well leave a comment.
Thank you.
Subscribe.
Hit the bell.
Like something. We want to do a Q&A. And I'm venturing out again because we did one Q&A for the wife, the lovely Shawnee. And there's been talks of getting her back on a show.
Hey, listen.
We hear your cries. We're going to make it happen, guys. But for now, we got to get some things in order. So we want to do a Q&A. Let's get formal with it. Ask us the questions you want to hear. And, like, we'll give you the best that we can give you. But for all intents and purposes, shout out to Last FM, adding us to their podcast forum.
Shout out to Google Play.
iTunes has now accepted us. SoundCloud. If you're listening to this on SoundCloud, this is probably the second episode. I'm probably uploading them 1 week at a time. So I'll probably be doing 2 to 2 until they're all there. Yep. But for everyone who's making an effort to listen to this, it's important that you understand we appreciate it, because it's very difficult to start something from the ground up and get people to support you. Like, I'm sitting in someone else's business after hours recording this for you guys. If that ain't love, I don't know what is. So
if it isn't love,
so shout out to Dupe and Chance for helping us out with that, and we can get into this, right?
Yeah.
So let me get my seat adjusted because
he done had to adjust.
I have some conspiracy theories to film.
Hey, well, you know I love conspiracies.
We're gonna have conspiracy hour, y'all, today. I know y'all missed that from the a lot of people like that from the N.W.A. when I had my conspiracy, but. Hey. But let's jump right into it. We're talking about Trump's health and just in general, why the White House is okay with lying.
They've been lying since their inception.
They have been lying, but this is like Beauregard type lying. Like, as to date, Donald Trump has told over 3,001 lies. If I last remember the checking score for Obama's 8 years, he told 294 lies. I'm not saying a lie is a lie, but for you to go 8 years and only tell 294, I feel like that's okay.
That's probably
necessary. That's part of the job. But to have told 3,001 lies, and you haven't even been in office for 500 days.
Is it because he doesn't know, or we just calling him a flat out liar?
Both.
Okay.
He has
either way. It's not acceptable.
Donald Trump has 1-page briefings. The average briefing for a military contract is 8 pages.
It's probably written at an 8th grade level too.
Yeah, it has to have his name and pictures in it. Lots of charts, lots of pictures. But this speaks to a bigger issue. We recently found out because when you decide to become the leader of the free world, you have to submit yourself to rigorous checks and balances.
Yes.
And one of those check and balances are mental health and physical stability. Because he didn't hesitate at all to mention the mental preparedness or physical ability of Hillary Clinton.
Of course.
She fainted in the middle of a debate, and that was it for her. Like, people were going after John McCain. This was a war hero.
But he can only raise his arm because he heard he had an injury to his arm, so he can only raise it this much. And then
so he has attacked. He has attacked both of two different groups of people, men and women, about physical and just mental stability. And here's a man who had his doctor handwrite his dictated health bill of health. Remind you, Jackson, who was the nominee for the VA, who dropped out after we found out he wrecked a government car, DUI. No one's ever seen that car again, but he dropped out. But he told us that Donald Trump was 6'3", 230 pounds, and could live to be 170 based on his genetics. Yeah, the healthcare person in the building just looked at me funny. Yeah. And if that's the way you look at it, it's true. He has lied to us. So now there's a question of, do we need to have an evaluation for him? Because he did not.
We definitely need first of all, the White House needs to not only have a physician, they need to have a reputable third party that's unbiased come in and do an evaluation. Maybe it's more than one source that are not connected to come in and give a psychiatric and a physical evaluation of whoever's going to be the leader of the country. It's just not acceptable. And number two, why the hell do we have a 70-year-old person as a president? I don't give a male or female. Why is a 70-year-old leading our country?
As it stands today, the baby boomers are no longer the majority. Millennials have taken over that spot. There are more young people than there are old. Therefore, if you want to appease this country, you better be young or you better be thinking young. Bernie Sanders is old as dust, but he thinks like a young bull, and he kicked like one too.
Yeah, I'm not sold on that.
You're not sold on him, but if I'm picking from three, my boy Bernie's gonna be on the list.
I can't get down with the socialism.
And maybe this is a great segue for it. 8 minutes into it. Want to go into, or should we talk a little bit more about the truth telling in the White House?
Well, let's just read that and saying we need more than one physician, and we need it outside of the White House, and we didn't need it to be Congress, and we needed the House to control who comes in and gives the evaluation to the president. So I feel like it'll be a bit more fair, and we can get a true estimate of the mental and physical health of whoever's going to be the leader.
The House is terribly out of shape.
I mean, it is, but when it comes to, hey, we're going to have a psych and health, mental and physical evaluation of who's going to be the leader of this country, they have a vested interest in getting a few third parties to come in and evaluate the president. And if the person who is a White House physician is fudging the examination, then they'll be outed immediately. It's like, nah. So that's why we need two outside of the White House, because then there's a trifecta there, and then we can really, really know.
Sort of like how we have the three branches of government, and they're supposed to be self-check balanced. Next topic. Next subject. We're talking about Democrats. We're talking about Republicans. But a recent question is coming to play. The Democrats are noticing something they noticed in 2016, right around this time, and that thing was a dip in their polling based on population. Whether we like it or not, a vast majority of millennials and minorities are Democrats by demographic.
Yeah.
So with this knowledge, they noticed this dip last time this year that a lot of the younger demographic wasn't vibing with Hillary. They still pushed forward with it. That same graph is now popped up, and it is identical to the one from 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The Democrats are in trouble because after the November election, we might have a blue wave that takes over the Senate, but that doesn't mean anything if we don't win the election. So now the question becomes, if you don't like a Republican because, I'm black, and based on Trump's tweeting, he doesn't like Muslims and people from shithole countries, I'm guilty on 2 offenses. And if you're Democrat, as long as you don't have if you don't have over $100,000 and you're a Democrat, you're not important.
Yep.
So it now becomes a question: if you aren't at these 2 extremes, where do you fit in? Is it time for there to be a third party?
There needs to always be more than 2 choices, and that's the way of the world. You can drive down any major street in most cities. If you're hungry, you can find multiple options for lunch or dinner or breakfast or whatever. But when it comes to the leaders of your country, you only get 2 options. You get trash bag A or trash bag B. Which trash bag is heavier and sloppier? And we don't want that one. But you still end up with a trash bag. So I think we need to have several parties. What country was it that had like over 60?
Australia.
60 parties.
Yeah, Australia's up there. The Netherlands are up there. These are places that go into depth because the freedom of choice is all about your option. There's a big question coming out. Kanye with the whole slavery was a choice. And somebody told me because I'm from Africa and I'm a pureblood, and since there was no slave in my family, I can't speak on it. So I was like,
yeah, I saw that stupid comment. I was gonna respond, but I saw you responded, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to attack. Me and Harold tried not to attack.
Yeah,
you punched her in the face, and I wanted to come back and kick her in the butt because it was just the dumbest thing. Let's not veer off.
But what I alluded to in that comment was the only way you have a choice is if you were given someone asked your opinion. Mm-hmm. So since no one's asking our opinion, they've only given us 2 parties.
Yeah.
The Tea House Party.
The Tea Party is they're a joke, but they're an offshoot of Republican ideas. And then you have but see, here's the thing that's going on in the country right now that I think we're not touching on. You have libertarians, and then you have the Tea Party, but those are essentially offshoots of Republicans. But libertarians get lumped in with Republicans because of some of the ideals they have. But if this was 1960, what the libertarians believed is exactly what JFK believed, and he ran as a Democrat. But JFK was a proponent of what we call classical liberalism, Wilhelm von Humboldt. He's like one of the grandfathers of what we call libertarianism or classical liberalism. But that goes back into the mid 1800s. Like, you gotta, if you really want to understand like the political system, you kind of gotta do some history. But on the left hand side, you got the Democrats and how suspect they are, and then you have the people inside the Democratic Party who are consider themselves progressives.
You sent me a video probably like 2 weeks ago about Jimmy Dore, and how we talk about how the Democratic Party is the Republican Party of the 90s.
And the 80s, because Jimmy Dore found this clip of Obama. And he said, if I had the policies I put in place, if this was 1980, you'd be calling me a Reagan Republican. Wait a minute, why is Barack Obama saying his policies are 1980 Reagan Republican policies? That lets you know where the Democrats have moved to. Their warmongering, military-industrial complex, shit on the poor. They don't care about you. Neither do the Republicans. So we need some progressivism to come in, and not in a detrimental way. But we need the libertarians and we need the progressives to kind of figure it out and get enough steam to run. And now, if the only reason I feel like Bernie ran as a Democrat because the progressives hadn't solidified themselves enough. But we very well might have the ability to get a progressive.
And you're not a fan of socialism, but I always venture to see whenever someone attacks socialism, you're attacking socialism of Mother Russia. This isn't socialism of that day and age. We're talking about things that we know work in practice. We know GoFundMe's work. Why? Because it's everyone collectively putting in a little to get a big picture solved. Mm-hmm. If we had universal health care, if we had a universal salary for teachers, we have more teachers on the streets today protesting than we do in classrooms at one point. That can't be America.
Yeah. Well, when both parties are employed by the same entities, you're going to get that. And the funny thing is, we live in a capitalist country where we have so much variety of choice, but the only place we don't have any variety of choices in our political system is kind of stupid. It's kind of like an oxymoron. Like you have, quote unquote, all this free choice everywhere else except for here. And it's time for us to change that. And the only people who really can change that is people like us, young folks, to get up and say, this is stupid, you're an old fart, you suck, you gotta go.
If by midterm we don't have Democrats, House Democrats, Senate Democrats, governors acting in our favor, is it fair to say it's time to open up the party and make a third branch?
Maybe we need more than one. Maybe we need the Libertarians to rise up, or maybe we need another party out of the Democrats.
But we know, statistically speaking, scattering votes doesn't solidify mass appeal. If in that case, the Republicans will win outright. What you want is to get the youth to make the decisions, not the rebellious.
But when I say that, I'm talking about the people the young people who subscribe to this ideology and that ideology to challenge the status quo. That's what I'm saying. Like, we need the young people, because I've met a lot of young people who are extremely liberal, and then there are some that are progressive but have a bit more traditional values. And then I've met some libertarians who are extremely conservative, or somebody like myself. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm libertarian. I subscribe to a lot of that, but I have a lot of progressive views about what societal norms should be as well. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but I feel like you and I represent exactly what should be rising up. You being a bit left of center, and me being a bit right of center. We need all the young people listening to understand.
Yeah, there needs to be some. Yeah, I'll agree to that for sure. There doesn't need to be this idea of because I'm Democrat, I got to vote Democratic on all options. I believe in owning a gun. But you know who I don't believe? I feel like if you own a gun, I feel like your name needs to be on a list. I'm sorry. If you want to own a weapon, I feel like you need to be identified. I feel like anytime you go out and buy, if you go out and buy 70 pounds of fertilizer and you're not a farmer, your name goes on a list.
Facts.
So fertilizer can be used to create food. Why aren't people's names being put on lists for buying things that destroy? So and that's just as simple as day. If anything, I just want you to enforce the laws that you have in-house. Mandatory background checks. In Virginia, you could go to Virginia right now and buy an assault-style rifle in 10 minutes, no questions asked.
I live there. I know. I walked in the Superior Pawn and Gun, and you can go in there. They got all kinds. They got muskets in there, bro. They got freaking a 50. They had a 50 cal machine gun on display with a price tag on it, bro. You can walk in right now and buy a freaking tank piercing around and a weapon right now in Virginia. And
the time has come that the older generation, the average age of the Senate and House is 65 now,
which is terrible. It should be like 45.
Yeah,
and I'm being generous there. 45 is enough life experience. I'm 30. I'm 50.
Do you think it's time? Like, you have to be. How old do you have to be to vote? 18.
You have to be 18 to vote, but you have to be 35 to run for most offices in this country.
Do you think it's okay to drop that number down to 26?
To run for office?
Yes.
Locally, yes.
It's already at that level locally.
Okay, like statewide? Definitely. Like, you got to think, at 26 years old, if you're running for office, 9 times out of 10, you have finished college or you're getting set in your job, you're starting to understand how life works and settle down a little bit. I know some 26-year-olds are out here cutting up, but for the most part, if you're running for office, you're probably in with a solid group of people. You got a solid background because you have to be vetted to run for office. So you have some kind of background, some kind of group of people that's pretty much set, and you have a certain way that you live life that would be considered normal.
I'm throwing this into the track. Just real quick, remember the two Starbucks dudes?
Yeah.
So they settled with the city. Did you hear how much they settled for?
No.
So the two men settled for $202,000.
A piece?
No, together. So $101.
$101,000 a piece. Before or after legal fees?
I'm assuming after. But they only accepted $1 of that total fee. They made the city pay it out to the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
So, how righteous are these people? This is this now makes 3 righteous black identified males doing something very powerful in their community. First one being James Shaw. And our leader in chief hasn't said a word about either of them.
Why didn't he? First, I don't want to go off on a rabbit trail because we'll be there all day. James Shaw, I don't understand why we didn't get any more pub on him. He got a little spot on, cable news, and he was being very humble, but I don't think...
He's raised $167,000 for the families who lost loved ones, the 4 family members. So he deserves a citizen's...
He took a gun to the face. He put his hand...
He definitely deserves the greatest. He deserves the greatest civilian award you can get for leadership in this country.
He should have got the key to the city. He should have got a Medal of Honor or Valor or something. The president could have given him a medal.
How? Remember, this was the same president that also said that neo-Nazis were some of them were okay. So what does this say about our president being completely silent about more black successes, but willing to speak out vehemently about Stephen Clark, who's their DA is considering not pressing charges on these officers, even though the medical examiner who re-examined the body, and he's the same doctor who wrote the paper for the CTE, the big movie with Will Smith in it. His name escapes me, but he's from the motherland. He's the doctor who redid the examination, said, no, it wasn't 3 bullets in the back, it was 8 in the back. 5 in the back, 8 total. So you're not going to second question a guy that challenged the NFL and won. And we know that the DA is corrupt because she's accepting money. She's accepted $23,000 in financial raising funds from the police department's union. Isn't that money supposed to be going to y'all's pension that y'all cried so much about? But I digress. We have an issue here, and I'm probably going to put out another video about it, but I got my Dear Black People Part 3 coming out. That's going to be it's definitely out by now. So if it isn't, it's going to be in the corner up there, one of these corners. But let's go to our last topic of the day. Iowa has the Senate and the House of Iowa have passed a bill, which is being called the Heartbeat Bill. And a lot of you guys who don't know this know that Iowa is a very red state, and the Heartbeat Bill would be a bill that allowed physicians to decline abortions to women who do not present a sonograph showing that the fetus does not have a heartbeat. And if for all you guys who are not inclined, you can get a heartbeat from a baby about 6 to 8 weeks. Most people don't find out they're pregnant till about, I would like to say, a month, 2 months into it. So that puts you well past.
Exactly. A woman doesn't know that she's missed her period, and for at least average woman's cycle is about 26 to 28 days. So it's going to take her full weeks for a cycle to come. She's not going to know that she missed it until the 5th week, and at that week she's going to be like, well, maybe, and then the 6th week, and I know because I'm married. So the 6th week is when she's gonna start suspecting it. When is she really gonna go and get it checked? She's gonna pee on a stick, but when's she really gonna go get it checked? Month 2, month 3? I mean, let's be honest. Like the things I don't like about it. Now, first, let me state my position. I am pro-choice, but anti-abortion. I think every human being has the right to decide what they want to do with their life. And while I'm against abortion, I don't think the government or human beings as a right should be able to legislate morality. Now, if people say, well, murder is murder, and I'm like, I'm with that. But the thing about a woman being pregnant is, how do you know she's pregnant if she doesn't tell you? She's not going to show until month 5, month 6. How the heck do you know? So she could literally secretly go off and have the baby aborted somewhere privately, and you never know. So this bill actually, to me, is pretty dumb because there's no way you honestly can control it. And that's the thing. If somebody wants to commit a crime, we've talked about this on this podcast before. If somebody truly wants to commit a crime, they're going to find a way to do it. And so the bill sounds like, yay, pro-life, but it's only going to force those who want to do this to the dark spaces to get it done.
I've said this on several occasions. If a kid knocked on my door, a woman knocked on my door that was fairly recognizable to me and said, this is Hero Jr., I'm going to shrug my shoulders and be like, fuck it, let's go. Why not? I've been dodging it long enough. You found me. Game over. Let's go. What you want to go play catch or some shit? But I speak more to what this does, and this is conspiracy corner right here. Mm-hmm. Everything I'm spitting right now does not have any facts or anything to back it up. But in order for you to have theories of thought, you must be able to dig a little bit deeper. Mm-hmm. I am of the belief that there's a situation going on. Mm-hmm. If you've watched Infinity War, this is the Thanos approach. Mm-hmm. In Japan right now, they are in a panic because they have hit 1% birth versus death ratio. Mm-hmm. Meaning, for every person that is dying, someone is being born. That is not a way sustained because that means your population doesn't grow. Mm-hmm. America has now dipped.
We're like, what, 1.3?
1.3. So we went from being 1.5, which is easy sustainable, mm-hmm. but now we're at 1.3, which means... And if you count that in half, because I think it's 53-47 for female versus men in America. Yes. So that means there's less men in the world. Mm-hmm. In America. So could it be possible that America is trying to avoid the inevitable opportunity where they're saying America might not be like the world power, but we're definitely not going to be the best of the best if we don't have anybody to defend our land?
It's beyond that. Okay, so I have a great dear man to me. He's like a dad to me. Call him dad. He's from Canada. He's from Toronto. His family migrated from Toronto in the 60s from the Netherlands to Toronto. And what happened was, in the Netherlands, they were doing something like this. They became extremely social in their politics. And what happened was abortion just became a normal way of life. They started dissuading people from getting married and having multiple kids and families. And what happened was they had a generation of older people who couldn't work anymore. And then they had a generation of extremely, extremely young people who weren't at working age. And so what they had was a gap in the workforce. They had all these jobs they needed filled and no one to do the job. So what happened was they started paying people to move back to the country so that they could have a workforce. The same thing's happening in China. They're not putting it on the news, but China's, for decade upon decade since Emperor Mao took over, he aborted hundreds of millions. Well, he killed hundreds of millions of people. So how many abortions is that? And then they had the same issue. They had a gap in the workforce. Now they're desperately getting people to have 2 and 3 kids. Why? Because they don't have any workers.
Yes.
And this is what we have to understand in this country. If we don't learn from their mistakes, we're not going to have a labor force. We're not going to have 18 to 35-year-olds.
And we've already seen this. We've seen this in America. Georgia's farmers, when they deported 300 of the population, of the farm population, there was fruit in Georgia spoiling on the field. So we've seen this in practice, and the governor of that state was fired. And the next one, the new governor, he just put out a video of him pointing a gun at a teenager. So there's decisions to be made there. He's rerunning, but I mean, that guy's got to go. And this is the same Georgia right above Florida where 17 kids were killed. Like the lack of decency is really irritating on a different level. But let's draw it all the way back. The reason why this Iowa story about the heartbeat bill is so important is because it's going to go to the Supreme Court, which has already ruled on the abortion already. It is the woman's choice. So now with this being said, but we have a new Chief Justice, a Supreme Court judge in there, which was the one Trump picked, and he's way more conservative. So there's an opportunity now for the Roe v. Wade to be revised, which could be detrimental to the government's ability to infringe on people in the country. Mm-hmm. If this is reversed, what is the ramifications of Roe v. Wade being reversed?
I don't see the immediate ramifications. I can't see that. But my only concern is that the government doesn't pay for abortions.
They don't now.
I know. That's the only thing I don't want to see happen. I don't want it. Other than that, I'm not necessarily. I don't like it. I'm not with it. But there's a lot of stuff people do I don't like. So
yeah, like when I was 18, and if I came home with a kid, abortion would have been on my mind. I'm 28 now, 29. If somebody comes up to me with a kid, I'll be like, yo, what's good? Because this is something I've been saying recently. You have to be certified to be a teacher, right?
Yes.
You have to be certified to own a daycare, right?
Yeah.
You have to be certified to be a nurse who wants to double certify on pediatrics, right?
And the same for a pediatrician.
So why the hell can't anyone have a parent? And why can anyone just be a parent? That's baffling to me.
Yes.
And we have an organization designed to take your kids away just in case you fail so bad at a test you never had to take to take your kid away.
And even they suck.
So you have to be bare minimum the worst of the worst to lose your child. So these things come into play. The government isn't going to take care of your kid if you have them and don't want them. So why do they care so much? It's just been boggling my mind. But I mean...
But I think it goes even deeper than that. I've started to realize that a lot of where was I at? And I was listening to a bunch of ladies talk.
Ladies.
And they were shocked that one of the girls was shocked that the group of ladies was shocked that one of the girls in the group still used condoms. She's like, you still use condoms? She's like, what is this, 1980? I'm like,
hey, I don't trust myself to pull a fucking piece out the oven, so I got my fucking condoms set.
Listen, but you know what, man? A lot of these girls ain't into the condom lifestyle, man. They just not.
Hey, because sometimes they want to feel it.
They do.
But regardless of what we want as a society, it's important for us to understand, I feel like, the underlying issue. The fact, okay, one, we already know the abortion, and health complications that come with it. Mm-hmm. That's a risk on its own. Yeah. I feel like the government putting this much love and interest into it is about reversing Roe v. Wade on a big scale. Because if you can blank out the most difficult part, it's easy now to say, I want to go get you. Because they did this to two people. The Golden State Killer was caught last week. You know how they caught him? They went into a database of the Me-23, where you put your specimen, and they ran it through there. They found his distant brother or distant cousin and said, do you know anyone who would be around this age? Like, yeah, they followed him around. They took money out. They took a Coke can out of his garbage can, ran his DNA, caught him. And then we go to the website and say, hey, we gave you our information with the hopes that you wouldn't just give it away to the police. You didn't read the terms of agreement. And now they have a second op of where they're basically going to funeral homes after someone's been shot or killed and putting their fingerprint on the phone to unlock it. And the judge just ruled unless you can prove you own your fingerprint, then it's not something that you can take away from police. If police ask me for my PIN code, I can be like, I don't know it. And if you get it wrong 10 times, the phone is deleted. So choose wisely. But our freedoms are being infringed on, and Roe v. Wade is one of our biggest assets to protecting them. So I feel like that's relative, but I mean, we might have to come back and look at this again.
Yeah, I feel like we are. We're going to need to wait for the decision to come down from the Supreme Court. But I don't necessarily think that there's any ramifications either way. Because right now, women can elect to do it. And I don't think that's going to change because some Supreme Court decision came down. Because again, it's internal to a woman. You can't tell if she doesn't show or share. So she could easily dip off. And you don't think that there's going to be some like underground little places where these people can go and get this
No,
stuff
and
done?
the clinic, people don't understand. The clinics were created. The dumpster baby is not a term taken lightly. It has, for every folktale, there's a little bit of truth. They used to go out in the back alleys and scrape them out. So let's not be barbarians and let's use our health science. It's a personal and a difficult thing to do already. Let's not make it inhumane. So for all intents and purposes, I guess I can do the rundown this time.
Yeah.
Because you did the intro.
Yeah. Where can they find us, Hero?
Shit. They can definitely find us at The Identity Booth on Instagram.
Yes.
You can find me on Facebook, The Identity Booth Project DTO as well. So you can also find Project DTO on Twitter, Instagram. You can also find me Wakanda's First Hero. And if they want, you don't like talking to people on IG. But
I mean, I will. Thomas RFC Group. You can find me on that.
don't hit him up on the Identity Booth.
Yeah,
That's his page.
I'm on
That's
the
the one he
Identity
likes
Booth.
going to. YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're getting tired of like people texting you, but you can't text them back, hey, we on the Last FM. They put us in a forum. We're trying to get into that African American tribute band. We want to be able to rock out with all the cool kids.
Yes.
So keep liking us, keep subscribing to us. We officially on iTunes now.
Google Play,
SoundCloud. We hit the 500 mark, so we official. People look at our podcast and say they're a little rough on the edges. They don't have that much great equipment, but I like their style. And guess what? We don't give a fuck because y'all ain't promoting us yet. Y'all ain't paying us. So
exactly.
pay up and we'll hook y'all up with that good sound quality. But until then, y'all gonna be getting y'all shit 2 weeks later after the video. So this topic might not be relevant when you watch it, but. Shout out to N.W.A. for letting us be in their booth because clearly this ain't my booth. And Ray, Chance, thank you so much. He's still here in the building. He's waiting on us. He's waiting on us to get out of here. So we're gonna hurry up and get out of here. Did I miss anything? Was that a good rundown?
Yeah, that was good, man.
That was a good rundown. Yeah, we're done.